I'm delighted to have Andrew Horder here, who's a workplace coach.
Great to be here.
Fantastic. Now, I know you get asked a lot of questions about your work.
I do indeed.
So what is the biggest question that you get asked?
How do I love my work more? The answer to that one, Dave, is it's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. Make that conscious choice that you are going to find the good in your work, and you're going to stop worrying quite so much about what's not so good. I strongly believe that we have a conscious choice about how we feel about things. I'm with Eleanor Roosevelt on that. She once famously said that nobody can make you feel inferior without your permission.
That's a really good quote.
Yeah. You have to participate in feeling bad. So if you're feeling bored at work, if you're feeling frustrated at work, if you're feeling put upon at work, all of that, all of those emotions are things that you can choose not to feel as strongly.
And there's probably a feeling that people get where they feel they're the only person feeling that.
Yeah. Even the people in the best jobs in the world, now and then, they just think, my boss is a plonker, or this work is a grind. That happens. Those who are good at it will turn around to themselves and say, okay, interesting. My boss annoyed me today. What made that happen? What can I do about that? Because it's that conscious choice, actively looking for the good and actively dealing with the bad inside your head first, that makes all the difference.
Rather than just dwelling on the negative that might be the biggest show in town in your mind, you're kind of parking that for the moment. You're not presumably totally denying it, because those feelings have to be felt.
The bad stuff is still there. It's not going to go away, and you will need to deal with it at some point. At some point, you are going to need to have that conversation with the colleague who annoys you, with the boss who's putting too much work on you, about that part of the work that you don't enjoy. But if you have that conversation in the light of all the stuff that you do like about the work, you are going to come across as someone who has a lot to contribute and is actively seeking to find ways to do their best work and to get some help with the parts of the work that are less enjoyable.
And I guess the great thing about that is the boss doesn't just see a needy employee looking out just for what's good for them, but presumably wanting to work in some kind of collaborative way for the good of both of you and indeed the organisational company.
Absolutely, yes. You've got a team player that's working for the benefit of the team. You've got a company person who is also in the company to help the company achieve its objectives. You do need to care that your business, the business you're working for, is doing good stuff in the world. And you might need to do some thinking about what that is, how you find that purpose in your work.
Now, I can't believe that's the only frequently asked question you get. Are there any others?
Probably the other big one that people ask me is, what if I need the money? What if I can't afford to rock the boat? I need this job. It's not a question of you can't afford to do something about it. You can't actually afford not to.
Interesting.
There's this theory, enjoyment performance theory, that basically says we do better at work that we enjoy. If you're not enjoying your job, if you're all resentful about your boss, feeling down about your work, you aren't going to be doing your best work. And if you're not doing your best work, eventually you are going to get found out. You will then find yourself leaving that job not on your terms. Then you're going to need to start preparing yourself for that exit, because eventually it's going to catch up with you. So you do need to look at, what is it about this job that I'm not enjoying? And what parts of it can I enjoy and do more of?
I can imagine a scenario where the actual job, in terms of what it is actually just right for you, but for whatever reason, you don't get on with the boss.
It's not necessarily just the boss, it's the workplace environment. It could be that there's colleagues you don't get on with. It could be that the company culture has changed a bit. Maybe there's been a takeover or a change of management. And in that kind of scenario, you went into this job, you went into this business, working for this company because you liked what they were doing and you thought they were doing great work, and that was a kind of work that you are really well suited to and all of that great stuff. But things have changed. And bear in mind, the thing that changed might be you. Because we all grow. We all change. Things happen in our lives. So we change. So if the thing that's changed is you, recognise it.
So what steps can people take and how can you help them?
How I can help them is to really get into who you are, what drives you, what makes you tick, what kind of work are you best suited for, what kind of work do you really like to do, who do you want to be, what do you want to achieve in the world, how do you want to show up in the world, and what difference do you want to make to the world, to yourself.
I've had many jobs through the years, and sometimes it's just been struggle and strife. And I've sometimes asked myself, does work really have to be that hard?
Yeah, well, there is this kind of theory that prevails that work is supposed to be hard. The trouble with that is it's all based on effectively the Protestant work ethic. It's kind of a Western thing that if you're getting paid for something, it's not supposed to be fun. J.M. Barrie said, it's only work if you'd rather be doing something else.
I love it.
Now, I love that quote in one way, but in another I don't. Because I think if you get the right work and you get yourself in the right headspace about your work, there are going to be times when you're doing your work and that is the one thing you want to be doing. You're doing it because it's fun. You're doing it because it's you at your best. You're doing it because it's what you're here to do. One of the big things that we risk doing is if we are doing it because we think other people think we ought to do it, we're twisting ourselves all out of shape. And as soon as you start doing that, you're not you anymore. And therefore, you're not going to be able to tap into your natural ability. We all know that bosses don't always get it right. We also know that telling bosses that they've got it wrong may not be the best move and needs to be handled with some degree of delicacy. Your boss probably knows stuff you don't. So don't just make the assumption that they're an idiot. They may actually be protecting you from stuff. If that stuff is making you uncomfortable, or the way that they're asking you to do stuff is making you uncomfortable, you do need to find a way to have that conversation. And having that conversation with your boss can be awkward, so you need to be properly prepared for it. And you need to really understand what it is that needs to be said, what your drivers are, what your value is, what your values are. Will help you to have that conversation with the boss in a way that allows the boss to receive it and help you with it.
Really good advice. Careers advice is quite a tactical, data-based driven pursuit, whereas you're taking a step probably before that where you're going deeper, possibly even using things like disc profiles, certainly getting into people's heads a bit.
The particular profiling tool that I love to use is a tool called Talent Dynamics. And it looks at how do you think and how do you act? And how do those two intersect? And there are 8 different profiles. And if you know what profile you are, you then know the role that you're supposed to be playing in the team. And if you can recognize that other people in the team play different roles, you can help them, you can utilize them to allow you to do your good stuff and help them to do their good stuff. So you knowing your profile will help the whole team. Obviously, the whole team knowing their profile is going to be even better, but I would say that, wouldn't I?
Well, that was a fantastic insight, Andrew, and thank you so much for providing all of that value. Any viewers interested in moving forward in their jobs or careers that are feeling a bit stuck, you now know where to go for help.
Thank you very much, Dave.